Thanks for listening to Hustle and Heart. I'm your host, Edie Weintraub. Today we sit down with Melanie Coblentz, the creative behind Yeah, That Mom. She creates content centered around exploring and celebrating Greenville, South Carolina, and so much more. I don't want to take the mic away from her because I know she's got so many great things to share. So, Melanie, handing it over to you. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
So I am, as Edie said, I promote small businesses in the upstate region of South Carolina, but also in Charleston, Atlanta, Charlotte. I throw some New York in there. Shout out to my home state, Virginia. My family has a cabin in Virginia, so I get up there a lot. And I'm formerly from Florida. So Florida, That Mom is a family-friendly, but not completely family, because I'm a single parent. So I like to have kid-free fun too. Resource for promoting restaurants, small businesses that do events, just fun things like zip lining and escape rooms and stuff like that, and festivals and travel. My son is special needs, so there's also that point of view. Everything we do, everywhere we go, I have to take that into consideration. And I know there's a lot of parents out there that are in the same boat, and there's not a lot of mass media resources for families that have to take sensory issues and stuff like that. Where will I escape to in this museum if it gets to be too much? Stuff like that. I like to include that in my content. And I think that's kind of I guess all those things make my platform unique, but the special needs concerns is something that is particularly close to my heart.
I'm very curious. I always ask folks, did this role find you, or did you create it based on all the things that you saw out there? How did Yeah, That Mom come to be?
So my clients joke that I am kind of like Forrest Gump, that whenever basically any topic or job comes up where it's being talked about, I'm like, I did that. So I've worked in some aspect of food and beverage my entire life. My first job was as a hostess for Roadhouse Grill when I was 16. And I've had some aspect of that pretty much my entire life. And I'm not going to say how long that's been. So I was working for a national retail grocer, as they had a special program for teaching culinary lessons to people. We were bringing guest chefs, and I got to meet Paula Deen, Tyler Florence, Ming Tsai. That's so nice. All these amazing chefs through this program that I did with this company. And when I moved here to South Carolina, the program wasn't structured the same. And so I kind of had to change focus within that program of what I was doing. And then that program became not what it was intended to be. And I didn't have a passion for it anymore, but I wanted to stay with the company. So I just basically, within the grocery store, I cross-trained in every department so that they wanted me to be manager, but I just had my first child and I was paying for somebody else to raise my child in daycare. And so I was like, listen, I'll do you a favor. I will learn everything from top to bottom in this store so I can step in to whatever I need, but I'm not going to be here 60 hours a week. So I did that for a while. If you stop to think about what I had offered for even a second, you realize that was a bad plan on my part. So I quit quite abruptly.
You learned, right? You learned every single piece. So that was a great investment, more so in yourself. Yeah, even if it might have not been the right compensation, no one could take that away from you.
It kind of leans into that now I'm kind of the Swiss Army knife, that I can work back of house in a restaurant, in the front of house. I know how to use a deli slicer. I know how to make sausage. I know how to weigh out seafood and skin a fish. And I actually know how to do floral design, because in the midst of all that, the store I was at, the floral designer quit. And I was like, I can do that. Now I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it the best we've ever had. So I sent myself to floral design school and ended up doing floral arrangements for celebrities through that when I tell you that so to answer the question that I'm sure people are, yes, I'm writing a book. But it gave me, I feel like I don't ever have to worry that won't ever have a job. I'll never be unemployable because I know how to do it too much thing.
Oh, what a blessing, right? Again, the best investment you can ever make is in yourself. And so you did it.
There's no, I feel like God had a plan or whatever. And so I know how to decorate wedding cakes and do all the things. So I left there and I'm divorced now, but I sat down with my husband and I was like, listen, and I had a ton of money in 401k at that time. So I said, what if I cash that out, pay off the cars, pay off all the things, and then we can just live on one paycheck. And then I don't have to I can stay home with Isaac. So that's what we did. A few months later, I became pregnant with my daughter. And just by coincidence. So I've always been our family's travel agent person. As a young child, and I'm probably aging myself, but I would make my parents at like 12 sign up for AAA so that we could go to the AAA office and I could get all the books for all the places and that I would plan our family trips. And this was before the internet.
Look at how resourceful you were because you knew they had the books. You knew that you could put together the itineraries.
So I had a passion for travel and sharing info already. Like, oh my gosh, I found this really cool thing. So after my daughter was born, I just happened to be in an event and there was a local website that I followed that covered food and travel and stuff like that. And the editor was there and I started talking to her and was like, you should go to blah, blah, blah and cover that. And she had never heard of it. And I was shocked. I was like, really? What? And she just looked at me. She said, you should come work for me. And I was like, okay. I'd never written. I wanted to be a communications major, but I took a semester off and that was more than a semester ago. And so I had a passion for writing, just I'd never applied it. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet, but thank you. I'll think about it. She messaged me like the next day. Hey, I was serious. Okay, I'm thinking about it. Then she had somebody else from their editorial team email me. And I was like, I guess they're serious. What? So I wrote one and I guess I did a really good job because within like 3 months, I was one of their head editors. And the next month, I was asked to manage the social media for the website. Bear in mind, I was like one of those, it's funny how life works.
Always, yes.
I was so anti-Facebook, social media. I didn't have any of it. And when my son started kindergarten, the PTO moms were like, no, you have to have Facebook. That's how we do everything. And I was like, surely I can get through being part of the PTO without joining your little social media thing. And they're like, no, really, you have to. So within I don't even think it was 5 months, I went from not having a social media to having it be my job. So that in that time frame of me working for that website and not knowing my worth, what people typically get paid for doing all the things I was doing, and not having, I don't know how to say this delicately. We're in the South. My beliefs did not align with this company's belief. So in that time frame, my husband left. I felt like I was stuck. I had centered my whole life around being Melanie who worked for this website. And I started to see a path away, even if it was just me doing it on my own. And so it came time for me to renew my contract. And I told one of the writers, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, if she's even going to want to renew my contract. But I am very slowly, consciously uncoupling myself from this company. And yeah, she didn't want to renew my contract, but she gave me a severance and had no idea that I wasn't planning on coming back. God works in mysterious ways.
Well played, yes.
Because at that point I was a single parent and didn't really have a concrete plan for getting out. I talked to other people who work for local websites like that. It wrecks your mental health if you don't, I had a cohort that worked for another website, and every time the phone would ring, I would be anxious, and it was just I wasn't happy anymore. So I left, and one of my friends who is in the media here was like, you just need to do it yourself. And this was him saying this, all your articles were the best performing on there. You write way better than all of them, which I don't know, but he's like, just do your own thing. And so imposter syndrome is a sneaky little creature. And so I was like, okay, sure. And very passively rebranded what's now, that mom. I called it Figuring This Out because that was at the brunt of my divorce, and it was an ugly divorce through COVID that lasted, I think it was 3.5 years for us to go through. It was just horrible. And so dealing with all that, coming out of COVID and everything, I don't know, I think I had an epiphany, and I was like, figuring this out. I'm never going to figure this out. I want to rebrand. I'm starting over.
Yes.
I'm starting all this
nice
over.
To have a clean slate. Yes.
Yeah, so that same friend, Greenville's moniker, our tagline is that Greenville. Because there is a Greenville in literally every southern state, probably northern as well, but definitely southern. And when people would say, oh, I'm from Greenville, or oh, they'd be like, which Greenville? I think the Greenville here is the most metropolitan. It has the most to do and everything. So people would be like, yeah, that's Greenville. So that became our tagline. And he was like, you should be, that mom. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. And it grew on me. And he kind of convinced me that's the thing. And so I reluctantly changed it, but obviously it grew on me. And so in that time I was substitute teaching, but because of my background in food and beverage and knowing from writing about the restaurants in the local area and becoming friends with a lot of the chefs and entrepreneurs here, I had a lot of them reaching out to me hey, I need help with my social media. God can help you. No, it's okay. No, you're doing good. You don't need me. Find somebody that can help you. That was the evil, So I just kept on substitute teaching. And I partnered with a chef. Actually, the chef is my main client now. Concept is Hayden. And I approached them. I was like, hey, what if we do a Mardi Gras brunch? What if we do an event together and do a Mardi Gras brunch? We'll book a band and we'll do the whole thing. And I had a mixologist friend that we could bring. I had all these connections. And so we did. It sold out. It was amazing. The chef's wife and I would have midnight. I just had this idea, kind of phone calls where we would just brainstorm and workshop things. But I was just friends with them. And she kept saying, I really need to get you on the payroll. I need to be paying you for all these ideas. She was like, you need to quit teaching. I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that, but okay.
Why? I'm curious. Why did you doubt yourself?
Katie, to this day, I'm going to cry. I don't know. I don't have any naysayers in my life. The only naysayer in my head is this one right here.
That's always the
case. I'm in
therapy,
so I don't know. I have no explanation for it. I think part of it is I'm so afraid of letting people down that I would rather just not.
After like continued accolade and continued accolade and continued accolade, you need to do what's, what they call in the mirror is like, you are worthy. You deserve this, right? Like, what's his name from Saturday Night Live? Exactly. Yes. Because I think sometimes it just takes a little while to sink in.
And at that point, I had written articles for that website that had ranked on Google. I wrote an article about, I'm a huge Outer Banks TV fan, and I love when you can connect with a show like that by going to the places, like, oh my gosh, it's real. And so when that show came out, I wrote this huge piece on how to visit the places that were in the show. For those of you that are Pogues, that church that was JD's hideout in the first season, the location wasn't easy to find. And nobody had really written at that point about where to find the location because it was filmed all over Charleston. And so I wrote this long article about finding it and found the church, which now I regret because hopefully I'm not completely to blame, but once the location became public knowledge, it kind of got a little destroyed. I went there a year later and the windows, it was the original church for the AME church in one of the suburbs that's like north of Charleston proper. And so it was like back in the woods. It wasn't easy to find. And you figure if it was sitting there all that time and the locals knew about it, it had to be people from outside that did it. So that kind of changed how I wanted to write that gatekeep some stuff doesn't need to be public knowledge. But that article, I don't know if it went viral, but it ranked above, like after I wrote that, other places did articles like Vanity Fair and major publications. And when you would Google like where to go to see Outer Banks stuff, mine was at the top of the list. So for those like internet nerd people that aren't internet nerds, that's a big deal. Most of the time content written by like local writers, you have to go to page 17 to find it. So
I appreciate you writing things like that because for me,
well, thank you.
I feel like I was missing out. The Walking Dead came out. It was filmed in Atlanta, and it was less about me wanting to learn about zombies, which, every time a zombie come on, I'd like have to turn my face because I didn't want that mental image in my head. But they did such a great job with character development that it stuck. But it was beautiful to be able and curious to say, well, I'm going to test myself and see if I can know where they're filming. And so it's fun, also conversation in the car with clients to say, hey, did you watch Walking Dead? And if so, like this part was filmed here, the section that we're looking at for you to open a shop. And so it's nice to be able to pull those pieces together, but also for you, to have all those folks were such huge fans as you were, and they were really interested in understanding, how to experience this in real life. It's one thing to read about it, to see the show, but I'm really curious enough that I want to go physically go to it.
Yeah. Well, and I even had like a full circle moment. I was updating it on a subsequent trip to Charleston, getting more photos of some of the locations. And a mother and her daughters got out of their car at one of the locations, and they were using my article and they recognized me from the boilerplate. And I still recognize more for my work now with Yeah, That Mom, which makes me proud because I'm more happy to represent my own style than I did before, but I still don't ever know how to. I've curtsied. I've gone, nope, don't know what you're talking about, and run away. I had one person recognize me coming out of a bathroom stall. I don't know how like dual celebrities handle, like, I was like, can I wash my hands first?
Yeah,
like, I don't even know.
This is a little uncomfortable.
Thanks for following.
Let me give you an elbow bump. Yeah. Well, and also, like you said, it's more about you enjoyed doing the work. And then, for others to recognize the work and the things that you love doing, I think that's just, you can't ask for anything more.
No, and everybody wants to make a difference in this world. Like, when we die, we all, oh, she did this, it made a difference in my life or whatever. One of my passions is volunteering for food events that support pediatric causes. And there's a group of pitmasters called Hogs for the Cause. I'd like to think that I'm an honorary member of the Pitmaster Pit. These are some of the most wonderful guys. There's pitmasters from all across the South, from Texas to Charlotte too. And they do these events with the money coming out of their own pocket to raise money for Ronald McDonald House, pediatric cancer, all kinds of things. And the one here in Greenville and the one in Charleston, I'm one of the lead volunteer coordinators here, and I go down to Charleston's, and I'm kind of like the fire putter outer. And that's how I spend my free time. Like, when my kids aren't home, I am out doing volunteer work and trying to do things like that make me feel like I have purpose and that I'm making a difference. I was at the Greenville event, and in the process of putting out fires, I wound up bartending because I have bartending experience.
Of course, because I'm never going to ask. I know Melanie knows how to do everything, so
if
just
you
jump
ever
in there.
Need anything, you may just text me, and I'll be like, "Got it, I got you." And so this woman came, and she got a drink, and she was just, something was off. And I don't know if it's I started my life as a Catholic, I'm Hispanic. I always think everything is my fault. Like, what did I do? The guilt is real. And so I thought, that was weird. I wondered, did I make a drink wrong? Okay, whatever. We were too busy for me to linger on it for more than a second. And so she walked away. She came back again, I don't know, like an hour later. The same thing. It was just, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Made her a drink. She walked away. Was about to start doing the next one, and she came back. And she was like, I had to build up the courage. I'm gonna cry. This is one of those core memories that is a little marble that's stuck in my brain. She came back and she said, your journey and mine aren't that much different. And I really appreciate you sharing everything that you've gone through, because it makes me feel not so alone.
That in just making 2 drinks for this woman?
That she was afraid.
It happened over 2 drinks.
She was afraid to come talk to me like I was Tom Cruise or something. Like, what?
She recognized that you had written those pieces? Give us a little bit more context of how she...
So I have it, the Yeah That Mom website, because I'm a perfectionist, and I saw all the mistakes that were made with the other website. My goal is to launch the Yeah That Mom website in the next 2 months, because I want to do it right from the start so there's no backpedaling.
Yes.
So no, those articles, I haven't written any articles for my website yet. They're all in docs on my phone. So it was previous stuff I had written, but then also just I'm very public about, I'm not gonna lie, the trauma of going through a divorce. When you say until death do us part, and then that person packs up and leaves, and it's traumatic. And then to go through a divorce during COVID as a stay-at-home parent,
earth-shattering, right? Your entire world is turned upside down.
Yeah. And so I'm very firm in the belief that I don't want to ever lead anybody to believe that my life is all roses and sunflowers and that I don't struggle. Because then I don't want them to look at all the pretty Instagram pictures and think that I don't want to ever cause anybody to feel bad about themselves based on what they think my life is. And when I was going through what I went through, I felt it's so isolating. It's so isolating. And I don't want, if me posting, and I'm open about it to a point where I think I probably lost all of it. And that's okay too. I call that my self-clean function, because people who want to be there, I could have, 50,000 followers, but I would rather have a smaller follower base that can relate and is more genuine than just farming for follows, because yeah, I don't really care about that. So I'm very honest and open with the struggles of trying to co-parent with somebody who has no interest in that. And I've had multiple people. I went on a tangent on Threads one day, and I had somebody DM me on Instagram because she can't DM on Threads. And she was like, I'm going through the same thing right now, and I can't post about it publicly. So it helped to see that you're going through it. Not that you're going through it, but,
Not alone.
if I could have like a tagline under Yeah, That Mom, it would be like, you're not alone. I feel like there will definitely be a lean towards like self-care and mental health stuff. Like that's the other problem with my website, is it's going to be like a chaos.
It all going to be everything. So at the end of the day, right? Like there is a rhythm in this mess.
I mean, I think so, but the algorithm monster likes a niche and for you to stick to it. But
I think you should do you, because you have been amazing all along. It's just a matter of everyone else seeing it.
And my daughter, so single parent struggles. Both my children decided to be home from school sick today. So
happens.
Yes, life happens, and I have chosen the very not the easiest path.
But it's been so much more interesting, right? Like it's been an adventure. It's been surprising. It's, just even getting feedback from that woman and realizing the impact that you're making. I heard from another woman who said, Edie, there are generations waiting for you to share your story, because the more that we share, the more people, like you said, realize we're not alone. There are other people having these similar experiences, but we should be able to talk about it more. Sadly, Surgeon General's warning and all these other articles, we are the loneliest we have ever been, because to your point, we look at all these celebrities and how perfect they look, and nobody understands they sat for 3 hours to get their makeup and their hair done. They don't always look like that. So kudos to Pam Anderson for coming out to all these galas with nothing on and saying, I just have the energy for it anymore.
Yeah, like, this is me, take it or leave it. And if you want to leave it, there's the door. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Even at a local, like, other social media people that I'm friends in real life with, that I would compare myself, like, how does their house look? They're a single parent. How are they doing that? Not realizing that they have nannies and laundry service, and I'm doing everything with no outside help. That's something people need to take into account. Like, that beautifully curated Christmas tree photo by the window, the rest of that house could be a complete train wreck.
Sure.
You can't see what's behind the camera.
Well, that's why everybody gets to be their own director, right? We should all just walk around like this. What do we want people to see?
And that's what social media is. We compartmentalize everything into like a sales pitch. We're marketing our lives to strangers on the internet, and we're not going to show them that there's 2-month-old laundry piled up in the bathroom, because I'm not even sure if it fits my son anymore. So I don't really care to get to it that quick, because why am I washing clothes I'm going to give away?
Of course.
I mean, I guess I need to eventually, but I think people need to take stuff like that with a grain of salt. And that's why I'm like, I guess, rough around the edges.
No, I think you're just real. And I appreciate that. And I think more and more folks that are authentic and lean into vulnerabilities and really share what's going on. Like, for example, I posted something, I think it was last month. I had 4 deals that, would have been very lucrative for me completely die last year. But unfortunately, I am not the decision maker in those, opportunities. I did everything that I needed to, but, as a real estate broker, how we're compensated is we get paid when the lease is signed, when the contingencies are waived, and then when they open for business. And sadly, none of that happened, but I did everything I needed to do. So I got a lot of good feedback from that, because I think, like you said, it's people talking about, I did this and this guy opened and this one, I'm celebrating this, but People need to hear more of the shit, unfortunately, to understand that it's real.
Or like the BTS of, I spent, I don't even know, because it was like 20 minutes here, an hour here, 30 minutes here, creating a reel for a client yesterday that I was like, welcome to the world. This is at like 300 views.
The one that you don't anticipate too, all of a sudden like take off. You're like, oh, I didn't really like that, but I put it out and someone liked it.
Because that has happened. And that's especially true with threads, is you either get 3 likes or you get 4,552 likes. I had posted at Christmas, I was all up in my feels because the kids were going to have to go over to him and they didn't want to. And I posted on Threads like a checkbox thing. And I was like, 2025, single, married, not raising somebody else's son in 2025. It said that I had the checkbox on the last one. And I thought, it has like, I don't even know, tens of thousands of likes. And it was just like, boop, boop, boop.
I think that's part of just content, right? Like, you just have to create it. You just have to push it out. It needs to be authentic to you. And you just never know who's going to respond.
Well, I think a combination of everybody being in their field at Christmas.
Of course. Yes. All of the above.
Lots of women being fed up with nonsense. And maybe just the algorithm deciding to sprinkle some happy glitter on my post to push it out into the world. But yeah, there were so many women. We had some salty men in the comments, but that just further proved my point.
So I'm curious, not that, I mean, I love all of these topics, but quick question for you. Do you feel like, as you were talking about Hogs for a Cause, I find the more activities above and beyond either a food hall or restaurant, etc., again, creating spaces where people gather, does so much to amplify, you know, the story, the chef, the food, etc. Beyond Hogs for a Cause, which I really would love for you to share those dates this year so people can get them on their calendar and join you and see you and hug you in person. But do you find a lot of chefs, restaurants, etc., are moving into more activities or outdoor activities that, again, get the message across for that brand?
I do. So like Charleston Wine and Food, especially minority chefs, because a lot of times they don't have the capital, at least at the beginning, to pay a PR team, a PR firm. And I think that's what people don't understand with KJ Kearney runs a platform called Black Food Friday. I highly, highly recommend it. KJ is a friend and he's amazing.
I agree.
James Beard winner. And he uplifts Black-owned businesses. I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. COVID, when everybody was trying to support small businesses, he said, what if everybody, and I mean everybody, not just Black people, what if everybody made it a point to seek out a minority-owned business on Fridays? Like Taco Tuesdays is a thing. What if we do Black Food Friday? And started amplifying. He doesn't do reviews. He just promotes restaurants. And, you know, now it's expanded. This little tiny thing has turned into this humongous, and I'm so proud of him. He's so genuine. Has turned into this huge thing. And like I said, he got nominated and won a James Beard Award. He's been nominated twice. He won this last time. And he's good people. And I feel like the thing that is going to, I can't remember what the question was, but I think that the trend that I'm seeing is that, like, Kwame Awanguchi's The Family Reunion in Virginia, Black-centered chef. It's a Black-centered event with all these Black chefs, and an amazing, amazing, inexpensive event. And it highlights all of these amazing Black chefs. We have Bay Haven in Charlotte. That's the same. That's on a smaller scale with more events. It's just not as, it doesn't pull in the same celebrity chef list, but still an amazing event. And I think a lot of these events, for most of the chefs that I work with, are minorities. They're either Hispanic or Black. And I think events like that uplift, it's kind of like a twofer. You get to share your food with people, and it's those festivals, those events usually have a PR team that will help promote your brand as part of the festival. So I think for that reason, and then a lot of times there's a fundraising element to those festivals. Like I said, like Holy Smokes and Southern Roots Reunion is the one here in Greenville. There's a fundraising element. So you're getting networking. That's the other, I'm not going to lie.
That's
the other reason
for
that
me,
I love
the food
to
is
do
good,
these
but I love the
events
people. Yeah.
Is I'm now friends with chefs, amazing chefs all across the country from these events that I never would have. At one of the events, I was putting out a fire, the line was backing up, and the people that were expoing the food were volunteers, God bless them. They took time out of their day, but I don't think that they were from a legal firm or something. They didn't have like kitchen experience.
Yes.
So the line was backed up.
In other words,
So
that was
like, okay.
extremely evident, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they were lovely. Can we pull them out of here so I can hop in and take their place? And I was like,
Get this done.
I don't remember what he said, but the guy was like, hey, Tuffy said you're amazing. And I was like, who? I was like, dude, I don't have time for this. I was like, go away. So I'm like, boom, 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 boom. Come to find out, it was Tuffy Stone. So for those people who are foodies, and embarrassingly, I didn't know who he was. I Googled him that night, and I was like, what? No idea.
Amazing.
I had no idea. And in that same tent, there was another chef that was like, okay, I don't know where you came from, but we're doing this like chef only, invite only, super secret, don't tell nobody after party thing tomorrow. We're going to roast a pig and it's like a chef potluck. You need to come. Okay, sure.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be there.
Well, I very hesitantly wound up going. Another pitmaster I knew was going to be there, so I was like, okay. So I went, and I felt it would be like if a normal person got invited to the Oscars, and they're like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. There was James Beard chef. There was a Real Housewife of Dallas was there. There were all these amazing chefs that I recognized, chefs that I didn't know that now I know. Brian Furman from Atlanta, that's how I met him. He was there. It was surreal. All this cornucopia of food, if you will. They were roasting oysters, pouring butter off of this like handcrafted bougie chef. So it was like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory for a foodie. And I've stayed in contact with all of those people. It was a long struggle to get to where I am, but I have a pretty privileged life, and I don't know. I'm happy to be here and happy to have met you.
Well, let's share with everybody. We ended up meeting at FAB, which is a conference that's in Charleston, June of every year. And I'm going to be speaking this year, so I'm very excited about that. Yes.
I just saw that this speaker list got announced, but I think my phone rang or something, and I navigated away. And then I'm pretty sure I'm undiagnosed ADHD because butterfly.
I think we all are. The best minds are, honestly, Melanie. Well, we're about to wrap up. Where can our listeners get some more information about you and your amazing work?
So my right now, if you go to Yetta, it's a link tree with all of the cities that Yetta Mom covers. I'll be honest, I'm still trying to figure out the balancing act. The chef that is my main client was nominated and named the South Carolina Chef Ambassador for 2024. They named 3, so he was one of 3. And so he had to go to all the festivals in South Carolina. We went in November. I went as sous chef to the James Beard House in New York.
Amazing.
And so I can say that I cooked at the James Beard House, but it was a lot to keep up with. Plus, running a catering company. So he runs a catering company, runs a catering company, a fast casual concept, Anonymous Burgers, and a restaurant that shares the name with the catering company called White Wine and Butter that we temporarily closed in October of 2023, and we're reopening it in a country club and a golf course. So we went from a food hall setting to a country club with a full bar, and it's going to have an event venue, like patio area. Yeah, that mom has just kind of been very passive. I haven't really posted there. I have tons of content on my phone. We've got places, but the main place to find me active right now until the website launches is Yeah, That Mom, the Greenville page. And that's because I live in Greenville. So that's where most of the content comes organically. But yeah.com will take you to a link tree that links all the cities that I cover. So if you have any questions, I like that Ursula quote, darling, I live for this. If anybody watching has a question about, I'm going to Chattanooga. So I took the kids to Chattanooga for Christmas. If you have a question about any town in the South, and I've had people reach out to me and they're like, hey, I'm going to XYZ. Where should I go? Girl, give me 20 minutes. And I live for that. I don't charge anything. I love that. So if anybody's watching this and you want tips, like the behind the scenes, the off the beaten path, where to go, hit your girl up.
Well, thank you so much, Melanie. Big thanks again to our guest today, Melanie Coblentz, for sharing such valuable insights about her love of food, her passion towards discovering more activities, dining, and travel. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep savoring the flavors of success and stay hungry for more stories from the leaders and innovators in the culinary world.
My name is Melanie Coblentz, and you're listening to Hustle and Heart.